Hello everyone, it's Zakes and welcome to my top 5 skilled sword fighters in anime. These are swordsmen of exceptional skill and would excel at Fruit Ninja. If you don't see someone you felt was supposed to be featured, then either I haven't watched the anime and would love your suggestions, or they're part of my top 5 mystical sword fighters list, or I simply forgot. Now, to break down the qualifying criteria, the characters must demonstrate and express knowledge about their skills, and the sword must be more than an accessory, meaning that the character would be nothing to us without them. There must be some amount of revelation as to how they trained and their motivations. There must also be commentary and discussion from their peers or enemies as to their skill, technique and reputation. The number of swords they can wield is not factored in unless some amount of skill is involved with the sword, not the accessory abilities if any. There must be some reasonable amount of being able to assess their skills. As such, there must be something within the anime that we can use as a yardstick, that being other swordsmen among other things. Swinging around a sword just won't cut it, pun intended. The swords cannot be a part of a system or gear, but should be standalone weapons. And just before we start, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one, and also, if you care to, you may support my Patreon campaign as well. There are, among other things, podcasts of me responding to your comments and freestyle anime reviews. And no, Kirito from Sword Art Online is not on this list for reasons I elaborated on in episode 1 of my podcast series. Now, without further ado, let's begin.
That's right. Let's see if I can get you to dance.
Number 5 is the black swordsman from the anime Berserk, namely Guts. He gets on my list because he carries one of the most unbelievably huge swords and garners surprise and praise from his peers and enemies alike for his handling of it. He is a show that human beings can go beyond what their supposed limits are. His training regimen is also something to speak of, as he does some really intense stuff. He is pretty adept at using his sword too, and practices to hone his skills and power, which can be seen progressively improving throughout the anime, as he is able to beat single and multiple enemies with pure willpower and raw strength. His determination is shown through his swordsmanship, and he has a knack for using it in some very creative ways, using the size of his sword for both attack and defense. His sword is more than a mere weapon for him, as he also uses it to contemplate his own life and decisions, therefore bettering himself in all aspects.
For all the places that I have seen, and people I can never forget, I felt everything through the tip of my sword.
Well then, it seems that I don't need to hold back with you.
Number 4 is Jin from Samurai Champloo. While the other 1/3 of the protagonist trio, Mugen, has a style that is definitely more flashy and cool looking, practically speaking, Jin is way more effective and I believe manages to beat enemies which Mugen would not be able to. Granted, there are enemies only Mugen could best, so it was just a question of preference and Jin just happened to be the one I chose. The flourish of his sword was made to kill and none of his movements are wasted, and he follows a sword style that speaks to his training. He is under constant attack due to his reputation as a master swordsman and lives up to it with each encounter.
You're quite good. It's been a while since I faced a master swordsman like you.
What really made Jin stand out for me is the fact that he wields his sword for himself and his friends with no hesitation to kill if need be. He does not brandish it to show his superiority or to measure himself against another, but is his way of life of never backing down, which is an extension of his personality shown in his swordplay.
I've no desire to kill you. The fact is, you aren't worth killing.
Stop the boat now! This boat is ours now. Huh? I'm sorry, we had no idea you were the famous pirate hunter Zorro! Please forgive us!
At number 3 is the pirate with no sense of direction who could sleep through an entire apocalypse, Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. The most unique thing about him is his 3-sword style that he prefers to utilize, but he is not limited to this, as he has a single sword style and 2-sword style as well. We see him train even beyond Guts' levels and grow from being a great swordsman to one who is worthy of being confused as the future pirate king and threat to the whole world with one of the heftiest bounties on his head.
If you try, you'll die.
especially relative to his time spent as a pirate. Zoro also has a great ambition to cut through anything, be it steel or, well, anything. Not to mention to become the greatest swordsman who ever lived, which means he actively seeks out and challenges other swordsmen who are very skilled in themselves and proves his position to be secured.
My swords aim to be the world's greatest. I refuse to lose even once to anyone who calls himself a swordsman.
Not bad for a guy with a moss head.
I'll stab you!
My aim is only to move forward.
Number 2 is Afro from Afro Samurai, who appropriately takes the penultimate spot as he holds the number 2 headband in his world. His story is one of revenge, which is the perfect backstory for any swordsman and would be cliched for anyone else. He is very quiet, but his sword does all the talking for him. He goes up against so many variations of foes in his 5-episode and 1-movie anime that it cannot be denied that his skills are of great repute. Did I also mention that there was a rocket launcher in there somewhere? His holding the number 2 spot doesn't mean he is number 2 in skill necessarily. It just means he has the right to fight the number 1, who is to be found in one place. When he cuts down any enemy, he does so with conviction, skill, and in full knowledge of what he is doing. That, coupled with his quest for vengeance, are enough to place him at number 2.
Woo! Brother, you did your thing!
Number 1 is Kenshin Himura from the anime Rurouni Kenshin, or as I knew it when I was younger, Samurai X. Good swordsmanship, in my opinion, is a perfect combo of attack, defense, and knowing the blades of others and how to avoid or block them. Kenshin is the embodiment of this, and his knowledge of swordsmanship beyond his own is his biggest selling point. From his first appearance, he has already made a reputation for himself in his world and gained the nickname Batosai the Manslayer, which is synonymous with death. However, in his present state, he uses a reverse blade sword in order not to kill his opponents, as he has learned that bloodshed is not the answer to get a better world.
New eras don't come about because of swords. They're created by the people who wield them.
But he does get a murderous aura when he is pushed to his limits. His speed and technique are without equal, but at the same time, he has to train himself to reach these heights, proving that no matter what, we are always learning to be better and trying to maintain our skills at all times if we are to keep surviving. Kenshin's journey is one that really sees his swordsmanship, personality, and overall history contemplating each other to a point where he has an epiphany of sorts and reaches not only new heights of power, but also states of being and acceptance for oneself, giving him the top spot on this list.
If you want to taste the ground, feel free to attack me.
And those are my top 5 skilled swordsmen in anime I've watched. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you please comment, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Don't forget that comments may be responded to in my podcast or my Patreon page. Also, don't forget to vote on the poll for upcoming character appraisals on the same platform. Until the next video, I am Zakes and take care.